What's up? How we doing? Okay, in this lecture we're going to talk about cellular respiration, which like what? What does that mean? Well, it means cells breathing, right? Essentially, respiration is our respiratory system breathing. It's crazy. Okay, what does that actually mean though? Well, we got a little friend here, our glucose molecule. You might remember this. This is a carbohydrate, a sugar. It's a simple sugar, right? We got our glucose molecule. Woo. All right. Well, how do we get energy out of things? How do you get energy out of wood? You burn it, right? And you can feel all that sun's energy, that leftover energy from the sun stored in those chemical bonds. Boom, you can feel that energy as heat. It's essentially what cellular respiration is. We get energy out of our food through a process it's essentially the same as combustion. What do you need to have a fire? Well, you need a fuel source, right? You need some kind of fuel, which would be the sugar in this case. And then you need something else to feed it, oxygen. Feeds it, and then you get some stuff out of it. What do we get out of it? Well, of course, we get a little heat. We actually get CO2 when we burn wood, and we get some water, H2O. And when we burn sugar, in addition to those, so this is the same as when we burn wood. We need oxygen. We have the fuel as the wood. It's just sugar, right? Wood's just made out of sugars. Well, it's a polysaccharide. It's called cellulose. And we get H2O and CO2 out of it and some heat. Well, we get the same thing in us. We're burning sugar. That's why we call it burning calories. We also get another molecule out of there called ATP. And just some fun little things. I don't actually have a 20-ounce bottle of Coke, but I just kind of want to talk about this to kind of put this all into context. A 20-ounce bottle of Coke contains about 65 grams of sugar. That is a lot of sugar. 65 grams. That's about 240 calories of sugar. So a 20-ounce bottle of Coke contains 240 calories, or kcal, of sugar, which is about 65 grams of sugar. That's crazy. 240 calories is like you could walk for a little more than a half an hour and not burn that off, depending on how fast you're going, how slow you're going, how far you're walking, all that. And I got that amount of sugar here. I don't have regular sugar. I'm gonna make this bigger. This is brown sugar, but I've got 65 grams of brown sugar here. That's a lot. I mean, just imagine trying to swallow all that sugar right now. Ugh, it'd be so gross. It's so disgusting. But it's so delicious. Coke is so delicious. Oh, so it's crazy how they tricked our biology into eating that much sugar. Think about that. Think about that when you are enjoying your next Coca-Cola. That is a lot. 65 grams. It's about 16 sugar cubes. If you have sugar cubes, about 16 sugar cubes worth of sugar. Okay, let's just get into this because I don't want this to be too long. All right, cellular respiration is burning sugar. Burning sugar. That's what it is. Okay. Pretty fun. Pretty cool. Where does it take place? Oh, our good old friend. Everybody knows what this is. It takes place in a couple areas, but the main star is the mitochondria, also known as the mitochondria, which is known as the powerhouse of the cell. And we know it as that whipped little old bacteria that we made do our bidding. What a fool. What a fool. All right. That is what a mitochondria is. By the end of this, you're going to know why it's the powerhouse of the cell. It's cool. It contains my favorite protein. I didn't even study this bad boy, and it's still my favorite. All right. Well, we take this sugar, and I'm going to give you guys the real kind of fun slap, dazzle, dangle version of this. I'm just going to recopy this little sugar. You can just draw a little hexagon. You don't have to have all the details on there. What do we do with this thing? We put it through a process called glycosylation. No, that's not. It's not. No, it's not called glycosylation. It's called what is it? Why am I blanking on what that's actually called? Glycolysis. Ugh. Glycolysis. Jeez, Tori, get it together. Glycolysis, which glycolysis. This means sugar. This means sugar. And this means to cut. So we take this and we start cutting it up. We start to cut this boy up into little like little 3-carbon sugars. Instead of it being 6 carbons, it's now 2 3-carbon sugars. Okay? Cut this bad boy up. Cut it down to 3-carbon sugars. That's what we do there. And from this process, we get a couple of energies. And the energy currency of the cell is ATP. We actually get 2 ATP. We net 2 ATP from this process. We have to invest a couple ATP and we get 2 back. All right? Boom. That's glycolysis, aka glycolysis. We cut this boy into 2 3-carbon sugars. And from that process, we're breaking some bonds. We get some energy out. Boom. Boom. Energy. That's what that means. Duh. Okay. Great. Now we go inside the mitochondria, also known as the mitochondria, also known as that little bitch we made our bitch. All right. This now enters something called the Krebs cycle, or the citric acid cycle. I'm going to label it the citric acid cycle. And acid to me is, I guess, green. Citric acid cycle. This boy is a cycle. It's a circle. So we've actually put these 3-carbon sugars in there, and we add more carbons to them, and we strip them off. I don't care that you know any of the details of it. It's a lot. If you ever take biochemistry, you'll have to learn all that. We put it in there. We take the sugar, and we're just continuing to process it. We get more, guess what, energy out of it. We get more energy out of it. We get another 2 ATP. So now we're netted a total of 4 ATP. Boom. Pretty crazy. We got a total of 4. All right. Well, we also got some other stuff out of here. Out of glycolysis in the citric acid cycle, we also got these things called electron carriers. So in addition to just breaking these bonds and getting this ATP, we're also stripping off some of the electrons. All right, we're stripping off the electrons and putting them on other molecules. So we also have cut it down to 3-carbon sugars. We also get out of here. How do I want to do this? We also get from glycolysis, we also get electron carriers. And from here we also get electron carriers, but they stay in there, but I'm going to draw this stuff coming out of here. We also get electron carriers. These things are called NADH and FADH2. That's what they're called. So NADH and then FADH. I don't really care that you guys know the names of those, but that's what they are. And these guys are really important, actually. These feed the electron transport chain. What is that? The ETC, the electron transport chain. What is that? Okay, so we've got Electrons hooked up with hydrogens. What is it? Okay, a hydrogen is an electron and a proton. All right, let's go zoom in here to the mitochondria. And what do we got? I'm gonna draw this real simple. Real simple. All right, I'm gonna draw this guy in red. I'm just gonna draw it as a red freaking square. There's actually 3 different versions of these, but I'm just gonna draw him like this. And we got our FADH and our NADH. Let me draw these down here. We got our NADH and we got our FADH. 2. And what do we get from this? Well, we get electrons coming off of this. Electrons we usually draw on this. We get electrons coming off of these. We get electrons coming off, and we get protons coming off. Proton, another way you can draw a proton is H+. Okay? They come off of these. I don't care that you know how many you get from each and all that and what they become. It doesn't matter. These things are recycled. Doesn't really matter to me. You're not going to remember it anyway. It's okay. Okay, we got electrons and we got protons. All right, coming off of these things. And they come off of both, actually. So let me draw it like this. Make it a little more clear. Whoops. No, it's all falling apart. My whole life is falling apart. Bruh, what are you doing to me? Why do you treat me like so? I don't know. Okay, so they're coming off. Boom. We get electrons, we get protons. And let's just draw a couple of these actually. Boom, boom, boom. And boom, boom. Yeah. We'll just draw it like that. We'll just draw 1 electron, and we'll draw a couple protons coming off. We'll draw 3. All right. What we do is guess what this boy runs on? This is a proton pump that is powered by electrons. What? That's a proton pump that's powered by electrons? Oh, just like a pump in real life is powered by electrons? Crazy. Crazy indeed. So this electron, whoop, gonna go like this. Power that pump. Electron powers pump. And what do you think that pump does? It's a proton pump. So this proton pump is gonna pump these bad boys through to the sun. So now we've got our protons. We got mega protons up here. Lots of protons. Because they just keep coming. We keep adding more of these. The electrons keep adding. Blah, 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 blah. Like we got all these stacked up from we keep burning sugar. We got bunches of these, so we got bunches of those. Right? We just feeding that boy. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So we got a bunch. That plays out. We get a crank load of protons up in this inner membrane space of the mitochondria. All right, well, we learned about diffusion. These guys don't want to be all crammed together. We don't want all these protons all crammed together like this. This is annoying. It's crowded up here. This sucks. Like, bro, I'm just trying to see like Taylor Swift and, you know, like, I don't know, munch on some grindage, dude. This is harshing my vibes. Like, I hate parades. And I feel like I'm at a parade and there's firemen throwing candy in my face. No thanks. Well, we got the solution. And the solution is my favorite protein, which looks something like this. We've got a little chamber right here. We got a little chamber right there. Something like that. It's got a little, let me make sure I draw this correctly. Doesn't really matter. And then we got a couple little bottoms here. What color do I want to do them in? I'll do them in green. We got like one. I'll do it green. It's kind of brown. And then I'll do it in this blue. And I'm going to show you guys some videos on this in case it does not make sense. There's also like there's like an arm that comes off one side. It kind of like helps stabilize the whole thing. I don't really like the way that's looking. I don't actually have a picture of this pulled up, so I'm kind of doing this off memory. But it's kind of got like this little thing that comes around like this. Okay, what happens is this thing here actually rotates. So this rotates. Okay. Whoop. This rotates. It's a turbine. It is a turbine. Okay, and just like a turbine or a turbine, it can be powered by wind. You know, you can have those windmills, or you can have a water wheel. This is powered instead by water. It's a turbine. It's a turbine powered by the flow of protons. Just like a water wheel is powered by the flow of water, this is powered by the flow of protons. So there's actually there's little pockets where the protons can sit. All around this little thing. And they can come in one side and then they can exit the bottom. And I'll show you the video of exactly how that works. But the protons come in here and they hop in the little carousel. It's like a little merry-go-round. Whee! They hop in and they go whee! They spin it and then they come out. Okay? And as they do that, whoop, we now got this proton here. All right, pretty nifty. Pretty nifty. All right. Oh, cool. Look at that. We got this electron. We got this. Oh, that's nifty. Let's just run this cycle twice. Let's do that twice. What do you say? Oh, boom. All right, and let's run this one. So this is powered again. So now we got these two electrons and these two hydrogens. Okay, that's pretty cool. And from this turning, this rotates, this part rotates, this rotates. It is a turbine powered by the flow of electrons. These little things, when this rotates, there's a little thing in the center that goes like, and kind of moves these subunits. And out of this movement down here, what we get is we get ATP from ADP. So we can fuse another phosphate to the ATP. Pretty nifty indeed. So this is how we are getting our ATP. Ooh, from our sugar. Most of our ATP, and I'll explain more of that at the end. But let's go back to this. These are bad. We don't want electrons floating around. So these all kind of fuse together. And then there's one other key little ingredient missing, and then you understand cellular respiration in the exact way that I want you to. And that little missing ingredient is oxygen. So we actually take O2 and we split it into just two oxygens. And we run this thing twice. So we get an oxygen there and an oxygen there. And we fuse this, two electrons, two hydrogens. This would just make two hydrogen atoms, right? If we fuse those together, two hydrogen atoms, two protons with two electrons, that's two hydrogens. All right, so this would become two hydrogens. This would become H2, right? Oh, and we could just fuse that with this. What do you know? What would happen if we fuse that with that? If we fuse these two things together, what do we get? Anybody know? Talking to the internet here. Talking to a video, talking to myself in my office. This is, of course, water, H2O. That's where we get the water. Pretty nifty. We get the carbon dioxide. I didn't talk about that, but we get the carbon dioxide from the citric acid cycle. Okay, so we got our water right there. We just run that again, get another water. Run it a second time. Boom. Boom. And we get another water, H2. It's pretty crazy. Okay, so that's how we get our water. This is how we get our ATP. Water. ATP. And we get our CO2 from the Krebs cycle. CO2 comes out of here. I didn't talk about that, but we also get CO2. We get electron carriers, 2 ATP, and we also get CO2. We also get CO2. Okay, well, we got 2 ATP, 2 ATP from this bad boy, 2 ATP from this bad boy. How many ATP do you think we get from this bad boy, from the electron transport chain? I'm going to make that in purple. Electron transport chain. We get about 34 ATP from this, from one sugar molecule. We get about 34 ATP. Depends. Sometimes it's 36, sometimes it's like 32. It's crazy. We get about 34 ATP from one sugar molecule. Okay? And that's simply because we create this concentration gradient of protons by pumping them with the power of electrons through a pump. And then they want to run down this mechanically. So we take something that's chemical. We take a sugar molecule, which is a chemical. We break those bonds. So we go from chemical energy to electrical energy to electrical energy to mechanical energy back to chemical energy. Cuckoo! Okay, this thing right here, crazy, absolutely bonkers. This thing, this spins about 7,800 revolutions per minute. I don't know if you've ever crammed out a car so that its pistons are going, its revolution is 7,800 RPMs. That boy be redlining. All right, so that's spinning at 7,800 RPM. And your mitochondria is cranking out about, this little bacterial whipped boy, a mitochondria is cranking out about 10, not 1,000, million ATP a second. That's 10 million. 10 million ATP a second. And we'll revisit that when we talk about muscles. That's wild. That's absolutely wild. Okay. That is, let's check everything out here. Let's go back up here. That's really all I expect. Okay, so, we also lose some of this as heat, right? This is not a full-on perfect process, but we have our oxygen. This is called the terminal electron receptor in the electron transport chain. Because without it, you couldn't do this. Boom. We need to be able to accept these electrons here. Pretty nifty stuff, if you ask me. That's why we need to breathe oxygen. We need to absorb those electrons, turn that whole thing into water. That also keeps the proton gradient low here, because we want the proton gradient high here. Oh, I love this stuff. This is why you eat. This is how you break down your food. This is how you get energy. So a lot of B vitamins and things help build these things. This is like what a B vitamin is. They help build these things. Pretty nifty stuff. Let's see, is there anything else I want to cover here? Yeah, let me just pull up these. Yeah, let me see if I can bring this in here. Just show you these B vitamins. They're pretty cool. Yeah, so NAD plus NADH. So this is this big carrier molecule here. And you can see we put this other hydrogen on here. We have this whole huge molecule here. And the whole reason that it's doing this is to carry this one little hydrogen. When it loses the electron, then it becomes positive. Pretty freaking crazy. Pretty cool stuff. And so NAD plus This is derived from niacin or vitamin B3. So this is why, oh, B vitamins give you energy. Not really. They allow you to have more electron carriers, but if you have enough electron carriers, then it's no big deal. And this is vitamin B2, FAD, riboflavin. So those are just two examples of B vitamins and what those are actually doing. They're involved in shuttling electrons from sugar to the electron transport chain. This is why we breathe oxygen. If you understand this, I will be very, very happy and satisfied. Let's watch a video now. Very good, very simple kind of breakdown of this process. Let me pull this over here. Okay, let's watch this bad boy. So this is mitochondria. We're going to zoom in. That's ATP synthase. All those other things are electron carriers. I don't hear it. All right, well, I'll just, what's going on? I mean, I'll post this, but why don't I hear it? All right, I'll just narrate it. Let me go back here. Okay, so these things are your proton pumps. This is the outer membrane of the mitochondria, the inner membrane. These things are going to pump the protons up here. It's just like water. It's like they're water pumps. They're pumping a bunch of water up there. And that water wants to get back through this water wheel. And we're going to use that mechanical energy to generate chemical energy. In our world, we use mechanical energy to generate electrical energy. Okay? This is ATP synthase. I didn't label that. I should label that. So we got a bunch of hydrogen ions, which were pumped through these guys. And they can get down in here and spin this wheel around. They're high concentration up there, low concentration down here. This is your ADP and your inorganic phosphate going to come together to make ATP. Boom. Proton comes in, and it's going to spin this wheel. We got one leaving down there. Boom. So they're like riding this little merry-go-round. And they want to exit and get down here because that concentration gradient difference. Boom. And so this is how the turbine is powered. And then there's a shaft that comes down here and moves these subunits. This is actually made out of a bunch of different proteins. This would be a tertiary protein complex because it's a bunch of different proteins coming together. And then through that mechanical energy, we fuse ADP with inorganic phosphate to make ATP. And this is how your body makes frickin' energy. Pretty frickin' crazy. Pretty frickin' crazy indeed. Let me show another one. That's pretty cool. Why do I not hear this? Oh, there we go.
The outer mitochondrial membrane is composed of 50% protein, similar to eukaryotic
This gives you a
cell
lot of
membranes.
details.
One of the most abundant proteins in the mitochondrial outer membrane is porin, with many genes being transferred to the nucleus for safekeeping.
So this is about that endosymbiosis hypothesis, that a mitochondria is a bacteria. We've taken a lot of those genes out of the bacteria, mitochondria, and put them in our nucleus.
Lost altogether.
So these are the little ATP synthases right here. I don't
Since
care if you guys see all
bacteria
that. These are the little enzyme complexes here
releasing high energy
that are
electrons.
stripping off the
When
electrons.
the electrons are released, they immediately bind to electron carrier
These are doing the
molecules.
citric acid cycle.
Since free electrons
Look at them.
would cause
They're like little
damage to
people
the
with
cell.
freaking arms.
Glycolysis in the cytosol, which extracts only a small amount of energy, and the citric acid cycle in the mitochondrial matrix, which extracts the
Look at
remaining
them guys.
majority of energy.
They're like, who wants
The
electrons?
high high-energy electrons are then used to fuel a huge machine called the electron transport chain, or ETC.
So those are the proton pumps. So these purple things are pumping protons into this inner membrane. That's what all these are. They're using those electrons to pump a bunch of protons in here. And those protons want to run this turbine to get back here. And you see that turbine spinning, bro.
From the matrix
Like
to the intermembrane space. ATP synthase, on the other hand, provides a path for the protons to flow from the positive side to the negative side of the inner membrane.
That's electrical energy. Chemical, electrical, to mechanical, to chemical.
As the protons flow through, they power a turbine, which is used to produce ATP from ADP and PI. ATP synthase thus converts electrical energy into mechanical energy and then into chemical energy in the form of ATP.
Pretty wild stuff there. Okay, I think that's all I care to kind of share with you.
And now to another in our brief but spectacular series. Tonight we hear from Janet Iwasa, an assistant professor
lady.
of biochemistry
I don't
at
want
the
to hear from
University
her.
of Utah, who's trying to increase the
I don't
public's
want to hear from her.
understanding of science at a molecular level using animation.
I've met this lady.
That studied the
I've met her.
skeleton. So this is looking
She's
at the
pretty
way
nice.
cells crawl.
She's pretty
and
cool.
we were
Okay. Okay, that's it. That's all I got. Now you know why we eat sugar. We lose some of that energy as heat. I could keep going, but I'm just going to shut up. Okay. Good luck on your exam.